My name is kaeppner. I'm a Master's of Science in Environmental Science student here at Marshall University, and today I will be doing a presentation on watersheds, more specifically the Millcreek watershed, which is located in the Scioto River Basin, which is primarily in Union County, which is just outside of central Ohio. So, what is a watershed? Well, a watershed is essentially it's just an area of land where the precipitation is diverted into a main water body, and these water bodies aren't just lakes, but those can also count as. So, when it comes to managing or understanding the processes of a watershed, it's really important to know that we are dealing with both science and policy. Looking at the policy, it's really important to note that the EPA, the US EPA at least, was developed in the year of 1970. We'll also be dealing with this in this PowerPoint CWA, which was developed in 1972, which is also known as the Clean Water Act. That's 33 U.S.C. It's established in 1972, and essentially that's just the basic structure for regulating the discharges of the pollutants in the water, and that trickling down to the states to regulate those water quality standards for the surface waters. And specific those within that CWA, you can find specific policies, if you will, that we'll discuss further on in the PowerPoint as well as in this class. Essentially, the CWA, it's important to know just in general for water quality, it has implemented pollution control programs over the years, such as wastewater standards and other industry standards. We're not going to talk about it in this PowerPoint, but it is not per se, but it is important to know NPDES, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, and more specific. And then the science, the standard operating procedures, QA, QC, quality assurance, quality control. You're going to see QHEI because I did my project or my PowerPoint based on the Ohio EPA, and that just stands for Qualitative Habitat Environmental Index. Water testing as well, dissolved oxygen, pH, alkalinity, hardness, and other chemical testing are standard as well as far as the science is concerned. So again, importance of watersheds. I know I harped on this before, but it's really important to know that it does provide clean drinking water as well as the ability of the drainage of rainwater. But it goes so much further than that. This is a natural habitat, its own course of nature, if you will. Watershed also provides habitat for flora and fauna. In a way, it's kind of its own ecosystem, and it does allow for recreational areas. So, you may be curious, where are watersheds and are they found in the United States and how many are there? Well, to answer your question, it's yes of all the above. So you are standing on a watershed right now. Odds are the water or the precipitation, if you will, whether it's rain or snow or sleet, will eventually, in the long run, eventually flow from you to the nearest stream, most likely the stream obviously at the lowest of elevation in your area. There are total of 70 main watersheds in the continental United States as per the United States Environmental Protection Agency. So, in more specifics, I'm touching on the Millcreek River watershed. It is formally called the Millcreek watershed. It's in the state of Ohio, and it spans a total of 3 counties. The counties that it spans is Union, Delaware, and Logan counties. For those of you that are not familiar with the state of Ohio, if you just look at central Ohio, Columbus, and you look left, just a county north of that, or county northwest of that, you'll see this watershed as well as those 3 counties. The size of this watershed is about 178 square miles in total, and the water is eventually deposited into the Scioto River. For those of you that don't know, the Scioto River does span throughout a great part of the state of Ohio, through Delaware County, eventually through Columbus, which is the capital, all the way down to the areas of southern Ohio, which is pretty interesting. More specifically, with the Millcreek River watershed, 80% is agricultural. Most of these counties are rural. Union County is really the highest populous out of all these counties that this watershed specifically goes through, with Marysville being the seat of that county. So with Marysville, 60% of that city obtains the drinking water from this watershed, which stresses the importance of us as scientists taking proper regulatory and monitoring action. So, just in brief, here is a quick little map of the basin. If you look to the left, you see your little map of the counties, as well as the TMDL, and you see a bunch of the major sources, including industrial point source discharges, as well as the urban and agricultural runoff, resulting in parts of habitat alteration. The measure in this case was dissolved oxygen, ammonia, phosphorus, as well as the biological and habitat indices. You can see the restoration options include point source controls, habitat protection and restoration, septic system improvements, urban runoff controls, and public education. Keep in mind this data was pulled off of the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency website, and this was the final report of the 2002. The report was finalized in 2003 for the 1998 and the 2002 tests and monitoring of this specific watershed. So, and basically, we have a 303D list, which, as well as the total maximum daily loads, you may see that as previously stated as TMDL for short. So, the TMDLs must be developed for all waters on the 303D list. Essentially, it's a calculation of the maximum amount of pollutant that a water body, again, a water body, keep in mind, it can be a river, lake, or a stream, and the total that it can receive while maintaining water quality standards. Remember, these standards are set by the United States Environmental Protection Agency at the federal level, although a lot of it is carried out and enforced as per policy at the state level under those federal standards. So in 1972, the Clean Water Act, Section 303D, in whole required that states list as well as set priority to waters that do not ensure attainment of a specific water quality standard. And the list of impaired waters within the state of Ohio under the 303D list is made publicly available, as well as submitted to the EPA in every even number year under that specific section listed below. So, as stated earlier, we were talking about point source or non-point source pollution, which falls under source inputs. So, in general, I'm going to give you the general definition as well as the specific case based upon this watershed. So, a point source area or a point source pollution, which is pollution coming from one specific area or point. In this case, it could be a factory or sewage treatment plant. Specifically to this watershed that I have presented to you today, it will be the Scotts Lawn plant in Union County, as well as the Union County sewage treatment plant in Union County. For those of you who don't know, Scotts Lawn plant is a very huge grass as well as other fertilizer plant company that produces and sells its products on site, and it's one of the major, other than Honda, of course, in Union County, it's one of the major employers of that area. Non-point source pollution is essentially just runoff from urban or agricultural areas. As mentioned before, Union County, Delaware County, as well as the surrounding counties that this watershed is in, is huge in agriculture, meaning that pesticides, insecticides, and animal waste are going to be huge as far as going down being involved with the precipitation process. So all this stuff is eventually going to, all these particulates and chemicals, if you will, are eventually going to get into that watershed basin. So our totally maximum daily load for Millcreek River Basin. Final report was prepared by the Ohio EPA Division of Surface Water, to be specific. Summarized findings of Millcreek watershed encompass 178 miles of Logan, Union, Delaware counties within the state of Ohio. Go Bucks. Found that during certain seasons, high nutrient levels were found. The enhanced stream water quality model was used to predict the stream and chemical concentration responses to various point source inputs, as well as the stream conditions in the creek. Technical Release 55 was a model utilized to display the estimation of storm water runoff, which impacted the Crosses Run and North Branch Crosses Run from the Scotts Lawn facility. QHEI, remember, Qualitative Habitat and Environmental Index, which is really good at measuring biodiversity and other environmental factors and detections, was used in the Blues Creek to establish habitat restoration goals. So finally, concluded findings of all this was that 7 parts of the water body segments making up the watershed had the following document as making up the major causes of this 303D list. Tests were done in the year of the 1998 as well as 2002 during the summer reports that I had examined. The 7 parts of the water body segments were labeled as Millcreek Headwaters, Millcreek Otter Run, Town Run, Crosses Run, North Branch Crosses Run, Blues Creek, and BMY territory. Just keep in mind the table of 303D report here is listed on this slide as well as the next. If you look under the 303D status column, you'll see one for the year of 1998 and one for the year of 2002. And the comments will list any specific sorts of land descriptions or chemicals that were found. Major causes of 303D list will also talk about metals and some toxicity. So just to finish up here, the pollutants of the Millcreek watershed in general, the runoff from precipitation that occurred, wash these pesticides, animal waste, and herbicides into the areas of Millcreek. This will eventually result in high nutrient levels. What does that mean? Well, the excessive nutrients of phosphorus and nitrogen can result in algae blooms. When algae decays, the oxygen necessary for aquatic life becomes depleted. This is also referred to low levels of dissolved oxygen within this creek. This can result in habitat alteration.